up, everybody? It's JT Sports Match, you guys, with another video. This video I'm going to be talking about players the Kansas City Chiefs should look to target and NFL free agency. So the defending Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs, they have $16 million available in cap space. So that's $16 million that they have to spend in free agency, which really isn't a lot when you look at the market and the players contracts that these guys are probably going to try to demand and things like that. So really, the Kansas City Chiefs probably have enough cap space to sign one max player, then probably sign below market value kind of a player, something like that. And the needs, they don't really have that many, but they probably could use another wide receiver. Doesn't have to be a good wide receiver or anything like that. They just need to sign additional wide receiver. They probably could use another offensive guard as well, and maybe another cornerback. So the first guy that I have on this list is offensive guard Joe Thuney. Now, Joe Thuney is probably one of the best offensive guards hitting free agency. He played for the New England Patriots last year. He was the best offensive lineman that they had on their squad. And Joe Thuney is a guy who's probably going to demand a market value contract. And the Kansas City Chiefs do have $16 million in cap space. But since they only have that much left, they probably could only sign him. And if they sign Joe Thuney, then they can't sign another max contract player. Or they're probably going to have to get a player who probably wants to come in, just play for Kansas City and doesn't want to get paid a lot. Probably is just trying to win. So Joe Thuney would be a good fit for the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs do need another starting offensive guard. And Joe Thuney is one of the better offensive guards that we have in the NFL right now. So he would be a perfect fit for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's really good when it comes to pass protection. He's actually probably one of the best pass blocking offensive guards that we have in the NFL. And the Kansas City Chiefs, they like to throw the ball a lot. They can run the football, but most of the time they rather air it out and be just throwing the football. And Joe Thuney would be a perfect fit for the Kansas City Chiefs offense. The second guy, which is another offensive guard, if the Kansas City Chiefs don't want to pay a guy like a Joe Thuney, they could pay offensive guard Michael Schofield. Now, Michael Schofield played for the LA Chargers the previous seasons, and he's pretty okay. He's not as good as a guy like a Joe Thuney, but he's an okay starter. And he's a guy who probably won't demand a big salary or a big contract like a guy like Joe Thuney would demand. So he'll be another good fit as well. Like I said, he's another solid offensive guard. He's not great like a Joe Thuney, but he's able to come in there and get the job done for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he'll probably demand about $3 million, maybe $4 million a year, which will probably be a pretty solid salary for a guy like of him. And that'll be pretty much it for when it comes to address the need for the offensive line. And before I get into the next set of players that Kansas City Chiefs should look to target in free agency, make sure you hit that like button because it helps this video rank higher in the YouTube search and with the YouTube algorithm. It also helps the channel grow more. And also make sure that you subscribe to the channel because I upload NFL videos, college football videos, and XFL videos daily. So the next player that the Kansas City Chiefs should look to target in NFL free agency should be wide receiver Travis Benjamin. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, like I said earlier in the video, they don't need an elite wide receiver. They just need another solid wide receiver who can come in there and get them a little bit of production. And Travis Benjamin fits the mold. He is 30 years old. Last year for the LA Chargers, he probably had the worst season of his career as a pro. Only had 30 receiving yards for 6 receptions. Don't really know what happened there with the LA Chargers and him, because the previous season he was pretty productive. He was always a guy who would get around 600, 500 receiving yards. And he's not a guy who is a move the chains caliber receiver. He's a guy that is a big, deep threat. He's really fast, has a lot of speed on him. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs would be a very good fit for him, simply for the fact that this is an offense that likes to stretch the field. They like to throw the football deep. And you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who is the best quarterback in the NFL and has the best arm in the NFL. So I think Travis Benjamin will be a pretty good fit for Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs offense, because they like receivers who are able to stretch the field, who have a lot of speed. And Travis Benjamin is probably one of the fastest wide receivers in the NFL right now. So I think he would be a pretty good fit for the Kansas City Chiefs. And also, he's a guy that still has a few good years of football left in the tank. He kind of reminds me of a guy like a Ted Ginn. Ted Ginn was a little bit of a journeyman. Ted Ginn was never a guy who you brought in to have 1,000-yard receiving seasons or become a Pro Bowler or that. But Ted Ginn was a guy who could always come in and give you a couple of big games, a couple of big performances, and a good deep threat. And that's a guy like Travis Benjamin. That's what he reminds me of. He reminds me a lot of Ted Ginn. Really fast, can also do a little bit in the return game as well for the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think Travis Benjamin will be a pretty good fit for the Kansas City Chiefs, and also you probably give him a veteran minimum contract, probably around $750,000 or something like that. Or give him like a small deal, like a 2-year, $1 million, $2 million salary or something like that. A contract like that shouldn't really hurt the cap that much. The second wide receiver that the Kansas City Chiefs should look to go after is wide receiver Breshad Perriman. Now, Breshad Perriman had a career resurgence with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2019. He was a bust with the Baltimore Ravens. He bounced around a little bit. I believe he spent some time with the Cleveland Browns. He ultimately got released there. Then he went, played with Bruce Arians and Jameis Winston, had 645 receiving yards, 36 receptions, and 6 touchdowns. Had pretty much a career-saving year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Bruce Arians offense and the Andy Reid offense is kind of similar in ways of how they want to stretch the field. They like to throw the football deep, want to spread you out, believe in having a lot of big plays, and that's what Breshad Perriman is. He's really big, believe it or not. I think he's like, what, 6'3", 6'4"? He might even be a little bit bigger than that. So this is a pretty big guy who can stretch the field, and I think if the Kansas City Chiefs are able to get him, they can also bring him in on a pretty okay deal. Now, he's not going to be as cheap as a guy like Travis Benjamin, but he is a guy that's going to be a pretty reasonable sign. I think you could probably bring him in on a 3-year deal, probably worth like $16 million, $12 million. And what you get out of Breshad Perriman is that if you can stretch the field, you got a quarterback that's good at throwing the deep ball, then you're going to end up getting a lot out of Breshad Perriman, like we saw with Tampa Bay and Jameis Winston. Him and Jameis Winston laid down the stretch when Chris Godwin and Mike Evans ended up going down with injuries. Breshad Perriman was a guy who ended up stepping up and becoming the #1 wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. And I mean, he had some really nice performances, man. So, I mean, pair him up with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, I think that would be a pretty good deal there, because he's a guy who's not going to demand a huge salary, and also he's a guy who would come in and have a pretty solid some pretty solid years, pretty solid production for the Kansas City Chiefs. And also, he's really young as well. I actually think he could end up being an upgrade over Sammy Watkins as well if they want to end up ditching Sammy Watkins, because it has been rumored that they will want Sammy Watkins to take a pay cut. And if he doesn't want to take a pay cut, then he end up dipping and leaving the free agency. Now, on the defense side of the ball, the first guy that we have is cornerback Chris Harris. Now, Chris Harris Jr. is one of the best cornerbacks hitting the free agency market. He's a top 5 corner. He's actually the most underrated cornerback in my opinion, because this guy consistently puts up great seasons, great stats, and he is a lockdown defender, and he doesn't really get a lot of talk about him for some reason. And the Kansas City Chiefs have been linked to Chris Harris. It's been rumored that when free agency begins, that Chris Harris probably will most likely end up going to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs, one thing that their defense is lacking is a shutdown cornerback. And that's something that Chris Harris is going to bring you, man. At one point, this guy didn't allow a single touchdown in 2-3 NFL seasons, man. So this guy is really, really good. He could end up helping out that Kansas City Chiefs pass defense a lot. And the pass defense for the Kansas City Chiefs really improved compared to where it was the season before that. They were one of the worst defenses when it comes to stopping the pass. Now you got pass rusher now. You got Frank Clark. You got a good core linebackers. You also got Tyrann Mathieu, Juan Thornhill taking over those safety positions. So I think Chris Harris would be a very good pickup for the Kansas City Chiefs. And the thing with Chris Harris is that he's probably going to end up getting a max contract. He's probably going to end up signing like a long-term deal worth $70 million or something like that. So that's the downside. So if they want Chris Harris, they're probably going to end up having to pay him a good amount. But the next guy on this list, who is DeQuest Denard. DeQuest Denard is a guy who is very young. I believe he's only like 25 or 26 years old. He's one of the best up-and-coming young corners that we have in the NFL. And the Kansas City Chiefs don't feel comfortable, or they don't want to end up paying Chris Harris, they can end up signing DeQuest Denard, who probably would demand probably like a 5-year deal worth $50 million, which I think will save the Kansas City Chiefs a little bit more cap space than it would if they were to sign a guy like Chris Harris, who would probably eat up a lot of the cap if the Kansas City Chiefs want to look and try to target some other guys free agency. So I think DeQuest Denard would be another good option, because he's very young, and he's probably the best cornerback that the Cincinnati Bengals had in their cornerback position. And DeQuest Denard, man, he's a good man-to-man coverage corner. He's a good bumper run corner. He's also very good when it comes to coming up and tackling ball carriers or receivers and things like that. So you don't really see a lot of cornerbacks who are really good and tackling and wrapping up and things like that. And that's what DeQuest Denard brings to the table. And I think he'll be a pretty good fit for the Kansas City Chiefs if they do not want to pay big money to a guy like a Chris Harris in free agency. So this is it. 4 players Kansas City Chiefs should look to target in free agency. Let me know what you guys think about this list down in the comment section down below. Also, make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.